Screaming along a trench at 300 kilometers per hour is a unique bullet train design that actually looks like a bullet. With 110 passengers per carriage, this transport solution was cheaper to build than highways, thanks to a miracle material: concrete. And best of all, it was invented nearly 100 years ago. This train could have revolutionized railway travel throughout the last century and may have even eliminated the rise of passenger air travel. But it was never built. Meet the impossible Soviet Concrete Monorail. Russia is huge, and in the early 19th century it saw an explosion of railway lines crisscrossing the western populated region as the railway revolution enveloped the nation. And this place loves revolutions, believe me or not. Over 72,000 miles of railways were built, spanning from the border of Turkey to the North Pole by the time of the Russian Revolution. But as a piece de resistance, the Russians had always dreamed of a high-speed railway connecting the twin cities of Moscow and St. Petersburg, even as early as back as the turn of the 20th century. In 1910, the Putilov plant in St. Petersburg, say that 5 times fast, designed an impressive monorail that would seat 400 passengers in large carriages, with dining, bunks, bars, and more, with an impressive, for the time, top speed of 160 kilometers per hour. Unfortunately, political upheavals, wars, and a general lack of money saw the project shelved in 1922. But that wouldn't stop the Ruskies from dreaming up an even bigger, more impressive, and equally insane monorail project. And this one would be made of concrete. The principal design behind this new type of train was that of a slug or a snake as it slithered along the ground. It would travel along a 10-meter raised smooth concrete channel that would have no tracks or grooves, with its power supplied by 3 electric wires above. As the track itself couldn't act as an earth for the power, it would actually need 3 different wires. Each carriage would be 120 feet long and carry 110 passengers on board, with the passengers arranged side by side with the wheels in the middle. And I'll get to the wheels in a second. Thanks to the inertia and lack of track elements, the train would be quiet and ride softly as a cloud. The concrete train could go up to 190 miles per hour using the same amount of power as a standard low-speed train, and to slow down, the train would use flaps like those on aircraft wings today, dubbed air brakes. But the real insane secret of this train wasn't the track or its speed, but what was inside. Each carriage would have 2 large 12-foot gyroscopic wheels lined with rubber, located in the middle at each end of the carriage, with the same height of the train. As they were so heavy, they would act as inertia dampeners and in fact make the train move like a bicycle, eliminating rocking or even derailments once up to speed. This in turn would give it a low center of gravity, so they could easily go around corners without coming out of the trench, much like tilt trains that are in use today. The construction of the wheels themselves would be large, flat spheres like those on a skateboard or roller skates, and they would be hollow with a motor and gearbox inside of them occupying the lower half of the sphere. These motors would drive 2 small wheels that would run around on the inside of the spheres like a hamster, and the motors themselves would be on a floating spoke on one side attached to a suspension to eliminate any bumps on the concrete. They really thought of everything. With a motor in each wheel, separate carriages would have their own means of propulsion, making them more efficient and negating any max length of the train. Just like the land train that would come 30 years later that we have here on the channel. With the theory sound, it was time to build it. So what happened next? This idea was the brainchild of an engineer called M.I. Yamachuk. While electric monorails were not a new concept in the 1930s, he realized that most designs were needlessly complex and had all sorts of flaws and endlessly expensive. Instead, his concrete monorail, if you can call it that, would just be as cheap as a road to build, making the further expansion of Russia's railways across the continent exponential. With the initial idea in 1924, by 1929 he had enough cash to put together a small wooden prototype. It would run along a wooden track and have a dodgy power supply, but it was enough to get the attention of the People's Commissioner of Railways. Announcing that a prototype would be built from Moscow to Noginsk, our engineer hero was given 8 million rubles, which is 14 million US today, to develop a larger, rideable prototype. With a staff of 89 specialists at his command, from engineers to carpenters to even a plumber on the payroll, they built a 3-kilometer track with a small electrical substation. On this test track, they would have a 1/5 size model big enough to ride in, but looks rather comical when you notice the engineer's face sticking out. This test model managed to get up to 70 kilometers per hour, with those inside riding on a soft mattress lying down, with one tester remarking, "When I got into the narrow carriage, I was tormented by doubt. It seemed to me that the train in rapid should come off the tray and sure to turn over. Nothing of the sort happened. Gently rocking slightly without the usual clatter of iron wheels, the train swallowed space." With the test complete, the People's Commissariat revealed plans for a life-size 25-kilometer stretch of track, but the idea wasn't perfect, and this is why it was never built. Of course, with any found and explained video, we can have a bit of fun poking at the flaws of this design with nearly 100 years of hindsight. The first of these holes is in the front of the train. It's not entirely clear what they were designed to do, if they were windows for a driver, or air intakes for a future jet engine version, or perhaps a way to clear snow off the track. Also, we have to imagine just how easily this train would derail or be stopped by hazards if they were inside the trench. As it's a concrete tunnel, essentially, with the roof off, everything from snow to water to landslides could fill the hole almost daily and need to be scooped out or drained away. The other concern was the stability. They made a big claim that this train would be smoother than normal locomotives, but have you seen the testing footage? It doesn't seem to be exactly smooth at all, and that issue would only be exacerbated when it came to lower speeds or when it had to switch tracks. So what happened next? While they were underway building the 25 kilometers of test track, concerns were raised that this was all a folly and the idea was flawed, with one critical person noted as saying, "How much will it cost?" and conventional railways have not yet revealed all of its possibilities. You have to wonder if it was really about the cost or it was more about conventional railway barons at the time scared of this futuristic design, or others wondering if you should just build a road instead. In the end, it was cancelled and our hero faded into history with his invention only to become a YouTube video nearly 100 years later. If you like this video, then I suggest you check out the other insane locomotives from this era, such as the plane train right here on the channel. Or if you want to see something even more incredible, we have the land train that can go anywhere without tracks. Thanks for watching.